expertise in helping people take control of their debt.
People call in every day. By the end of the call, they're feeling better. They know there's some hope out there.
For over a decade, Family Credit Management has helped tens of thousands of Americans deal with the burden of debt.
If you're struggling with debt, the most important thing is to take control of it. Now's the time.
Hello, and welcome to Family Credit Management's Half Hour. My name is Laura Butler, and I'm here to talk to you guys about lots of different things regarding credit, budget, and just overall financial management. I work for Family Credit Management Services. I am a certified credit and housing counselor, and I've worked there for over 12 years. I'm here actually taking on some calls. If you guys have calls, if you have any questions on anything, the number to reach me today is 312-738-1060. And of course, if you have questions that you would like to be answered offline, you're always welcome to give us a call at Family Credit Management. The number is 1-800-994-3328. Today, I am going to be talking to you guys about credit. Over the last 6 weeks, we've been discussing different things with spending plans and budgets, and I thought I would take it in a different direction to get you sort of prepared for maybe something that you want to do for the future. If you want to start improving your credit just because you want to have good credit, there's a lot of information that I'm going to be covering today. So if something you have questions on as I'm going through, you're welcome to give me a call. If I don't get through the entire presentation today, I can split it up, and of course I'll talk about it next week too. But today we're going to just dive right in and start talking about ways to improve credit. So it's actually the presentation that I'm doing today is called Solving the Mystery of Your Credit History. And, just talking a little bit about what credit is used for. Most times people think of course, mortgages and car loans and credit cards, but there's other things out there too. Insurance rates are affected by your credit. Same thing with, checking accounts, even relationships. Say you're in a relationship with someone who has bad credit. It's maybe more difficult for you guys to buy a mortgage, get a house, if you wanted to get a car, something like that, or even get a cell phone plan. If they've got, poor credit, it's going to be very difficult. Same thing with employment opportunities. A lot of, employers will look at your credit history, or they'll pull your credit just to see kind of what you have out there. If it's something that's impacting you negatively, you may be, let's say that it's between you and another candidate. They may choose that other candidate over you. So this is just kind of a few things that credit is used for, but of course there's, more things out there, but this is kind of a broad overview. So there's a difference, a lot of times people ask me, well, I don't have any credit, so is that worse? Or having bad credit, is that worse? And it really just depends kind of on the person. It depends on what you're applying for. So if you're trying to buy a house or get a car, of course you want to have some sort of established credit. Bad credit, of course, is something you can repair and fix. So, having something established sometimes is a good thing. But of course, having bad credit is not great either. But there's ways that you can establish credit if you have no credit. So the difference between no credit and bad credit. No credit, it's difficult to purchase a home or car with no established credit. And then, of course, bad credit is harder to get someone to approve you for new credit, or if you are approved, you're going to be paying a lot higher interest if you do that. Now, if you do decide that you want to start establishing credit, there's several different ways that you can do that. One of them is getting an unsecured credit card. So if you're able to get an unsecured credit card, that's going to be something that is, not tied to any sort of collateral. And it looks like we do have a call, so I would be happy to go ahead and take the call. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So I've got a couple collections on my credit report. I've tried, this was a while ago, dealing with them, but it's according to my credit score, it's lowered my score.
Okay.
So, and I go online and I see credit repair companies. What are your thoughts?
Well, with credit repair companies, a lot of times if somebody is saying that they can fix your credit or it's an easy way to fix your credit, it's usually something that is, I don't want to use the word scam, but a lot of times it's too good to be true. So you have to be very careful in paying a company for something like that. If you've got collections on your credit report and you know that they're accurate, let's say you know that they were your accounts, they will fall off your credit usually after 7 years. If it's something that is not yours, and let's say it was, some sort of fraud, then, that kind of thing you can dispute. And I would definitely recommend disputing that. You can go through and file a complaint against them. A couple different ways. There's the Federal Trade Commission and also the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Those are two great ways to be able to get those things taken care of. But as far as credit repair companies, those are usually considered to be credit repair scams. Definitely do your homework before you go with any company. You want to make sure that, if they're a member of the Better Business Bureau, you want to make sure that they have no complaints out there. Check their rating with the Better Business Bureau. And then, a lot of times getting, word of mouth is always a good thing too, but you always want to make sure you check the reviews. I would not pay a company to repair my credit because it's something that I can do usually on my own for free.
And what does Family Credit Management do? Family
Credit Management, we're actually a debt management company. So people who need assistance repaying their debts and helping to build their credit, that's what we actually assist with. So we also help people.
Consolidation.
What's that?
Is that consolidation?
It's credit counseling. So it's not a loan. A lot of times when people think of consolidation, they think of a loan. But yes, we are consolidating your debts into one monthly payment. So if you've got any sort of unsecured debts, usually we can add those onto a payment plan and then get you paid off within 3 to 5 years.
So on a couple credit cards that I have that are in good standing right now, they just have high balances. If I do this, are they going to shut me off? I've kind of read about that. It might hurt my credit as well.
So there's a couple things that actually impact your credit. So, having high balances, it actually impacts your score worse than closing an account. So typically if you've got high balances, you want to start getting those things paid down, and that's what a credit counseling agency can do. Your accounts aren't necessarily always closed. Typically they're frozen, so you can't use the account while you're on the debt management program, but it really just depends on the creditor. So sometimes they're closed and it, may impact your score a little bit. I mean, I'm a credit counselor. I myself have used the program. My score dropped by 10 points, which is not very much. And then I saw within a couple months it actually bounced up higher simply because my balances started getting paid down.
Right. Okay, well that's good to know. I really appreciate your help. You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
And we really appreciate all your information. But I agree. Look online. I always say look at reviews. I mean, I was referred to a credit repair company in Chicago, and they were very honest, and they had the most reviews. And again, you got to be careful.
Exactly.
Some people will take your money and run.
Yes. I really appreciate you calling in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too. Thanks. All right, so that was a great call. If anyone else has questions similar to that, I'd be happy to go ahead and answer those. You're welcome to call me at 312-738-1060. Or, of course, if you have any questions that you don't want to ask on air, you can always call 1-800-994-3328 and speak to one of our credit counselors. They should be able to answer any questions that you might have as well. So, getting back to establishing credit, we are talking a little bit about ways to do that. So the unsecured credit card is one way that you can do that, and that is typically just going into a bank and applying for it. There's several different credit card companies out there. I'm sure you guys have all heard of them. Chase Bank, Capital One, Bank of America. Pretty much every bank has their version of an unsecured credit card. So there's that. If you're having difficulty getting a secured credit card, or an unsecured credit card, you can always do a secured credit card where you would put down a deposit in order for you to get a line of credit. So typically if you're doing a secured line of credit, you would give the banker $500. They would open you up a line of credit that equals the $500. The $500 that you gave to them is now securing that line of credit, and so you can use that line of credit up to that $500. Of course, if you're trying to establish credit and build credit, you definitely do not want to spend all the way up to $500 because that's going to negatively impact your credit score. But that's what that $500, let's say, if that's what you're using, to secure it, that's what that's for. And then there's also another way that some banks will allow you to be able to build your credit, and that is with the credit builder loan. So the credit builder loan is something that's a little bit unique. I really like this choice for a lot of people, especially if you're trying to establish credit and you're really finding it to be difficult to do secured or unsecured credit. Basically what you do is you open up an account with a participating lender, you make payments each month, and it builds your credit. After you make those payments, you receive the loan proceeds. So, typically you would go into your bank and ask them if they have a credit builder option, and it depends on the bank that you're going to. Some of them want you to secure it with some money. Some of them will do it unsecured. But basically what they're doing is they're going to take, let's say it's $1,000. They're going to give you $1,000, but instead of giving it to you today, they're going to put it into something called a CD, which is a certificate of deposit. That way that CD cannot be touched, otherwise you're penalized on it. So they're going to put the $1,000 into a CD, which now secures the loan for the bank, and then you would make monthly payments to the bank over the next, let's say, 12 months until that loan is completely paid off. They do usually charge a little bit of interest while you're doing that, but the CD also earns a little bit of interest, so you're actually going to be getting a little bit more than $1,000 at the end of it, but it also helps to build your credit. So it's a great way to do, especially if you're like a new, person who's never had credit. Let's say you're just starting off and you're a young person that wants to, start establishing credit. This is a wonderful way. And not only that, but it also teaches you how to kind of save. I know it's a weird way of thinking because you're paying on a loan, but it does save up to that $1,000. And so let's say you have something you need to do. Let's say you want to move out of your parents' house, or you want to move somewhere else, and you want to make sure you have $1,000 saved up. Well, you also need to build your credit, so this might be a good way for you to start doing something like that. So those are different ways to build credit if you have no credit, or if you have bad credit. And so, everybody talks about what a credit score is. Basically, a credit score is a 3-digit number used to determine your credit worthiness. The higher your credit score is, the more likely you're going to be able to get what you want out of life. So, that, like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you're going to be buying something. When I say getting something out of life, it's something as small as like a utility bill, but it could be, a cell phone. It also could be getting a new job. So you want to make sure that you've got a good credit history and good credit score so you can get other things in life. The higher your credit score is, the lower you're going to be paying for other things. So that's going to cost you, thousands upon thousands of dollars less if you have a higher credit score. So now there's different types of credit scoring models out there. The three main ones that we see the most, because we're in the Midwest, so TransUnion is the one that's pulled, more often with lenders in the Midwest. So that's what the Trans Risk Score is there at the bottom. Vantage Score is a newer credit scoring model that the 3 credit reporting agencies are trying to get all of the banks on board with the Vantage Score. What the Vantage Score is, it's very similar to the FICO score, but it's actually through the credit reporting agencies themselves. But FICO score is the one that the lenders mainly use. So the FICO score, you'll see that more often than not. And it ranges between 300 to 850. Now, with your Vantage score, it's going to be a little bit different of a scale. But the, FICO score, you just want to make sure that you know what that is. Now, there's a really neat website that will give you kind of an estimation on what your FICO score is. It's called myfico.com. And if you go onto that website, there's actually a link that says FICO score estimator. And you can plug in different scenarios. Let's say you've got some collection agencies, like our caller, they were talking about how they have some collections. Let's say you want to know how your credit score is going to react. Or, you were also talking about closing accounts. So let's say you've got those couple scenarios. And so you plug in the information, what you know is on your credit report. And then what will happen after that is you'd say, okay, let's say I'm going to pay off these collections and I'm going to close these, 3 accounts. What will that do to my credit score? And it'll give you an idea. So it's kind of a nice tool that you can use, and it's free. So, anything that's free is always going to be a good thing for me. So that's what a credit score is and the range of it. So what you want to do after you, really make the decision to figure out what you want to do with your credit is you want to really look at your credit report. So there's several different ways that you can do it. The one that I want everybody to focus on, of course, is the annualcreditreport.com. That is the free site for you to be able to get your credit report. You can go and get a report sometimes from a lender, but that means that you're probably applying for credit, so you want to kind of steer clear from that option unless, you know, let's say you got denied for some reason and you want to see what's on your credit report. I would always start off by looking at my credit first, though, before going out and trying to apply for something. You can go straight to the credit bureau. You know, there's TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax are the three main credit reporting agencies. And then, of course, Annual Credit Report. So annualcreditreport.com is the annual report that you're allowed to get once a year from all three credit reporting agencies. It's the government, you know, the government, actually George Bush, back in 2002, I believe, decided that everyone is allowed to get one free credit report from all three credit reporting agencies. I think it was 2004. And, you know, when he made that, you know, into law, this is the site that they designated. So if you go to annualcreditreport.com, it does not ask you for any credit card information. You have to make sure you type it in exactly like this. Do not put it in your Google browser. A lot of times people get a little bit confused when they're doing this, and they'll maybe just do a Google search for annualcreditreport.com. There's thousands of people who are trying to imitate annualcreditreport.com, and a lot of times they're just advertisements. They may want you to sign up for their service. So if anybody asks you for a credit card or your debit card, annualcreditreport.com will ask you for your social, because that's how they pull your credit, and they will identify you by your social security number. But they're not going to ask for credit card information or debit card information. This is the free site to get it. Of course, if you've got credit card debt and you want assistance with that, and you want maybe one of our credit counselors to pull your credit report, maybe you need some help with that, you can always call us at 800-994-3328 and talk to any of our counselors. They'll be able to pull your report. Now, we cannot give you a copy of it because it's not a consumer report, but we can go through it with you, especially if you're struggling with debt. So, of course, if you guys have questions, you're always welcome to give me a call today. On air, it's 312-738-1060, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So, continuing on, going through, now, after you have your credit report, what are you going to do? So, first thing you want to do is review the report for errors. So you want to make sure that your name is spelled correctly. You want to make sure that that's your address on there. You know, your phone number, if the phone number is listed, because sometimes it is. You want to make sure that, you know, the places that they're saying that you're working is correct. The reason why you're doing that is because you're looking for fraudulent activity. I myself was a victim of identity theft. I did not pull my credit report until I was, I think, 23 years old, 22 years old. So that's, you know, my credit was established when I was 18. That's 4 years that I did not look at my credit report. And I just thought, you know, I'm getting denied because, you know, maybe I don't make enough money. Maybe, you know, I just applied for too many things and they just don't want to give me credit. I had a couple late payments on some credit cards, and so I was assuming that that was what was affecting my credit score. Meanwhile, somebody was using my credit, and they were looking at, and they were getting Fingerhut catalog stuff. They got a couple cell phones in their name, in my name, I should say. And so when I pulled my credit report, I started looking at it, and I found I've never had a Sprint bill. I never had, you know, Fingerhut. I wasn't sure what all of these things were on my credit report. And it took me a while to get all that stuff cleared up. So that's why you pull your credit, even if you're scared of looking at your credit. Most of the time I talk to people and they're like, oh, I'm afraid, I think that my score's bad. And they just kind of try to hide in the sand kind of a thing because they don't want to know what their credit score is because they're either ashamed of it or they just know it's going to be bad anyways. You should pull it to make sure that someone is not stealing your identity. That is something extremely important, and you know, that's something that I can maybe talk a little bit more in the future too. If you guys want to talk about that kind of stuff, you're always welcome to call in and ask about it too. Of course, it's 312-738-1060 if you want to get in touch with me, or of course you can call 800-994-3328, and you know, you can talk to one of our credit counselors, or you can ask for my extension or my voicemail. So if you do find fraudulent activity, you definitely want to make sure you start taking action. So begin an action plan to improve or maintain your credit, of course, is one of the things you're going to want to do with your credit report. But if you do find that you have some fraudulent activity on there, you definitely need to start contacting maybe the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They will help you. The Federal Trade Commission has a wonderful brochure about identity theft, so you can always go to the ftc.gov website. So I urge you to do that if you are having some issues. So, all right. So things that should be listed on the credit report, you know, things that are your personal identifying information. So, you know, your name, your work history, your address history, sometimes your telephone numbers will be listed on there. But there are also things that are not going to be on there. Actually, there's going to be account information. So derogatory information, satisfactory accounts, and inquiries. And then there's things that are not going to be listed on the credit report. So things like race, gender, marital status, national origin, and religion. Of course, your job salary, your title, and stuff like that's not going to be listed on there either. So today we are running a little out of time. So like I said, this is a longer presentation. Credit, of course, I can talk about it. I have been talking about it for 12 years, so I can talk about it all day. But, you know, if you guys have questions, you're always welcome to give us a call at Family Credit Management. Of course, it's 800-994-3328, and talk to one of our credit counselors. Next week, if you have questions, write them down. You can always give me a call. I'll be here next week taking the same, you know, questions and calls, and we're going to be talking more about credit next week. So I really appreciate the caller today, and I hope that if anybody has any questions, you'll give me a call next week. But I appreciate your time, and have a great day.